how do women
space.
encourage women not to suck? Because men do it pretty bloody directly.
Oh yeah, it's so hard.
Grow a pair. You know, you'll have men on stages or men at churches giving men, and I'm not saying women should talk like that to women. I'm actually asking you. I've got a couple of ideas and I want to run them by you.
Yeah.
You know, because if the man says like, I just don't feel like I have what's, you know, within me to like protect my family.
Right.
No one would be like, well, you don't have to. They'd be like, well, figure it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
If a woman says, I just not really like tender towards kids, I don't know really how to cook. Well, freaking read a cookbook and figure it out.
Yeah.
Like if a man doesn't know how to defend his family and feels awkward about it, it's like, do it awkwardly. That's okay. Just do it.
Just start
and it
thinking
seems
about
to
it.
me that women need to be told to be womanly, whether or not they find it easy. But I understand, I think, that there is something too about you need to understand yourself as a beloved daughter. Like you need to accept that there's a sense in which you have to accept yourself. There's a sense in which you've sent parts of yourself into exile. You know, like I understand that as well.
Right.
And so maybe it really is a matter of like men hear things different than women and respond differently. Yet nonetheless, how should women be challenging women that directly? What does it look like?
I love this point. This idea of like if a man's a bad man, a bad dad or something, we kind of judge him. We're like, step up, like what's wrong with you? But we don't do that with women. So I think that's a really amazing point. You know, aside from that, the theological, I think the biggest thing we don't realize is just how much women are influenced by women around them, culture and the culture around them. And this is why it's been so devastating that Catholics have really gotten out of the culture. I might have mentioned this before, but in 1946, I think it is, the Song of Bernadette won like 2 or 3 Academy Awards. Like imagine the Song of Bernadette even being made today. But we just had a sense of how Catholicism had to be in the culture. Movies were still made. And now, you know, things are coming around, but very little has been focused on women. And I think, you know, much like deep detriment, because this is how women absorb content, is through by other women, you know, obviously influencers. That's growing, another area that's growing. But when I was researching the Anti-Marriage Exposed, that was the thing that just came up over and over again, was fashion magazines, that the power that they had, and Oprah Winfrey, the power that she had. Because women like to be kind of brought along with something. They don't want to be told. They want to see it and be attracted to it and move into that.
That's beautiful. That's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah. And that's, you know, this has been kind of our mindset with Theology of Home, is it's the opposite of these, you know, hard-hitting books that I'm writing that are difficult to get through. This is like the honey. Like we've got to draw women in through something that's really beautiful and compelling, that speaks to them on a much deeper way, that they can then start implementing incrementally in their lives in very subtle ways. And, you know, it's just really challenging because it can't be done poorly. Like it's, you know, we know when women have a sense of like, oh, that's just kind of cringy, you know, when it comes to cultural stuff, it has to be done in a way that feels authentic, and it feels like it's moving within kind of the spirit of the age, but taking the good parts of it. And so you can't like decorate a room and have it just be like totally out of style stuff. Like it's just not going to work. You know, women are going to pick up on that. So anyway, we've obviously at Theology of Home have been excited to see a lot of interest in our work. We also, you know, this idea of a lifestyle, presenting a lifestyle people, is now getting a lot of attention. I know there's at least 3 major publications that are adding lifestyle sections to their newspapers or their blogs or whatever. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they do it, because we obviously started with nothing. I mean, we've been like a shoestring organization for a very long time.
Tell people what this, I know we've circled around this. What's Theology of Home and where do they find it?
Theology of Home is, it first started out as a blog that I started because I realized that there were all these things I wanted to talk about in the Catholic faith that nobody was talking about, like an apothecary in Rome that I love that goes back to the 14th century Dominicans. There was a church in South Dakota that I saw. I went and spoke out there, and I saw this church. It was just this gem of a brand new church, a little chapel. It was baptism gifts. It was all these kinds of things that I was like, nobody is talking about these things in the church. And
smells good.
that's a good sign. And so it just started out with that idea. And then we realized the idea of the name, Theology of Home, that the home itself is meant to be a foretaste of heaven. The home is meant to get us to heaven. It's meant to be, there are elements in the home that mimic the church, but also mimic heaven, whether it's things like light, comfort, safety, nourishment, all of that. Those are all part and parcel of the home, and we can say them about our parish, and then obviously heaven. These transcendentals exist. And so anyway, obviously I don't use the language of transcendentals in the book. It's a lot more fundamental, it's more direct than that. But that's really where the book and the blog, and then of course we have a lifestyle brand. We have candles and products and sell books and things like that. So all of those things have just slowly and incrementally kind of come together over the last 6 or 7 years, and we're continuing to grow and sort of at that choke point of like, do we scale up or what? How's this going to look? But that, I think, is what women are really responding to, is it's not just this sort of navel gazing about like women in the church. It's a lot bigger than that. It's the things that help, they're tools of life, and the things that we want in our homes, the ways that we can make our homes better for the people around us. So, and that's the great thing about the lifestyle idea in general, is it's food, it's home, it's travel, it's products, all of that.
What I love about what you're saying, I think it goes back to what I asked just a moment ago about how do women challenge women, how do men challenge men, how is it different? I think it's something like this, right? The only thing, I think this is a fact, the only thing that can conquer a desire is a stronger one.
Yeah.
So if I have a desire for pornography, what could possibly be stronger than that, you might think? Well, it's a man's desire to love properly, maybe.
Right.
Not shame, that won't do it. My desire to not be shamed is not greater than my stronger to look at pornography, something like that. And I think what you're trying to do is like you're giving them a vision, and you're saying there's something better.
Yeah.
And you've been lied to, and you know that there should be something more. You sense it, and you're right. And here it is.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, I think
Can
that
I
is it.
cut that out and just use that for our commercial?
Don't you think, like appealing to desire?
Yeah. No, and
really.
this is the thing, is that, I grew up actually in a very sarcastic family. Like it was just that kind of our natural way in which we all engage with each other. And I had to really like get rid of that. And I've had to be really conscientious about it's not what I want. I don't want people to feel shame. I don't want people to feel
embarrassed,
or feel like we're unapproachable and we don't care about them. Like and I think that's what people sense about our brand and what it is that we're trying to offer, is we want you to have a richness in your life. And it's amazing. Actually, a couple of months ago, I went on a retreat. My husband was out of town with my sons, and my daughters, who are older, were home. And it was like the first time where I was really could kind of carve out some time to just spend all day in prayer for several days. And this strangest thing happened. So I got this like barrage of emails that, like, unlike I'd ever gotten any other time, things will trickle in, but it was just this really amazing kind of response of the Holy Spirit, just women saying, my mom was an alcoholic and I just never learned how to take care of my home, and you guys are teaching me how to do that. And there's just, it's subtle and it's little and it's attractive and compelling, and it fits into people's daily lives in a way that's, you don't have to carve out a huge amount of time to read our blog in the morning, or, you can pick and choose what you like. But it's that kind of stuff that we're hearing, women being encouraged in the life that they want to lead. And a lot of times it's even ways that they didn't even realize that they wanted to lead. Another woman I know has gone from being very lukewarm Catholic to, suddenly she's not lukewarm anymore. Just these little changes where you can start absorbing the faith, I think, in different ways. And that's what our products do. This is what we try to do with our writing. We have started creating these guides for different seasons. We have a beautiful one, Christmas guide, Thanksgiving guide, Advent guide. Anyway, it's how do we help people really dig into this in a way that they're compelled by, instead of
I think that's shame. What I'm moving over to this side fully now. Like the way you approach a person in pain is with compassion.
Yeah.
You don't actually hit them over the head or shame them. You don't say, suck it up, buttercup. In fact, the only reason a man appreciates that talk is when he believes the man saying that to him believes
really
he
cares.
has what it takes. So it actually is a form of love.
Yeah.
Like if you're just berating me, I hate you.
Mm-hmm.
But if I say to you like, you come beside someone and say, hey, like it's not your fault actually. Like you didn't like, I like to think of it in regards to pornography because that seems to be how men were, in my generation, we were just like born into this world and then porn was everywhere. And it was, it's like, you didn't ask to be born into a pornified world. Like that, you didn't choose that. And in fact, the first time you were exposed to it, that probably wasn't something you sought out. It was sort of thrust upon you and you didn't really know what you saw. And you were aroused and excited and maybe scared, but all that's completely normal and right to feel.
Right.
But okay, now we're here and now it's not working. Well, what should we do?
Yeah.
And I think it's something similar with feminism. Hey, like to say to women, like, it's not your fault.
Right.
Like you were born into this world where motherhood was demonized and
work was made the idol.
Yeah.
I think that's
and so of course you believe that. Yeah. And of course you're angry and frustrated and maybe like you're older and you didn't have kids or you're kind of right to be angry, but like what do we do now?
Yeah.
And so this goes back to your like, here's the vision. Yeah. Something could be,
No, and I think that's kind of the amazing thing too is just encountering women who have, even women who are, are single and beyond childbearing years. Like how do they rectify that? And obviously there's a whole spiritual element of that, but that doesn't, their life isn't a waste. There's so much, so many of the gifts and things that they've acquired can be used in different ways. But it is really that recognition of we didn't choose to be awful women. Women in America didn't choose to be awful women. Now the choices that we make exacerbated, but even that is all coming from the culture. So how do we start offering a culture that offers a totally different vision that's people want and inspires them?
Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.